Welcome to my series on stress-free productivity based on David Allen's Getting Things Done. This is my interpretation and how I've applied his theories of stress-free productivity in my life and in 15 years of a professional organizing business. The whole concept of stress-free productivity is having a mind just like water.
Think of it this way. A puddle is calm. You throw a rock in, and the waves radiate out from the rock, and then the puddle goes back to calm again. Mind like water is a concept from martial arts where you respond to a stimulus appropriately and then go back to a waiting state. Here's a quick example. You're in the middle of 10 things during your day and you remember all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I have to buy milk sometime this week. You write it down, you get it out of your head, and you put it into a trusted system, a place you know you will look later.
It's the concept of having a mind like water. Let's get into more detail about what a trusted system is. Well, what is a system? A system is a procedure or a method that you decide on that's custom for you and how you can manage your tasks and your projects. It's based on your personality, it's based on the way your brain works, it's based on how busy you are, your environment, and your space allowed. If you do not have a system to manage your tasks, manage your projects, create reminders, then that means you probably have an untrusted system, and those things that you're writing down on random lists everywhere are still floating around your brain. So the idea is to set yourself up a trusted system. A trusted system is a system that you're going to maintain or see often enough so that you don't miss anything. Untrusted system. Yeah, I'll remember that. How many things are you trying to remember? Jotting it down on the random envelope and then putting it down somewhere. Trusted systems. I send myself an email because I know I will be in my email. I write myself a note or put it on a list where I will definitely see it in the future. Kitty.
Another untrusted system is putting anything, anywhere, out of sight, out of mind, versus a trusted system is defined space exactly for that category. You can see it at a glance and you know what's there.
If you've set yourself up with a trusted system to manage your tasks and your projects, they are no longer now anywhere. They are in specific areas that you will look at often enough to make sure you're staying on top of everything you need to. There is a 4-step process to maintaining a trusted system, and that is to 1, collect that information, 2, process it, 3, do it, 4, review it. Step 1, collect the information with collection tools and create collection areas. Collection tools are things like a voice recorder while you're driving, a sticky note, an email or a text message, any way to get this out into the physical form. Then decide on your collection areas. These are just holding spaces until you have a chance to deal with these thoughts that are coming out of your head. Now that they're in physical form, these collection areas are just gonna hold on to all that stuff that's going, and you'll get to those later. For me, I send myself emails. I put it in my desk inbox behind me, or I have a kitchen shelf downstairs where I'll add anything new. Even if it's a physical item, like these broke and I have to fix them, I'm gonna put them on my kitchen shelf or in my inbox here to remind me, oh yeah, I need to fix these. It can also be notes to yourself and lists and reminders. Step 2 is to process. Now that you've collected and dumped things out of your brain, they are sitting in their collection spaces. You're going to sit down and you're going to process them. And when I say process, I don't mean actually do the tasks. All you're doing is deciding, do I still want to move forward on this? Yes, I do. What's the next step? What's the next action involved? It's a phone call. It's a conversation, or it's a piece of reference that you file away. You're gonna have to decide where these live. It could be paper-based and it can be digital. Depends on your personality style. You can have files behind you with active papers and lists and also reference. I prefer digital over paper. I like to be mostly paperless. I use an app called Thinking Rock. I've been using it for all 15 years based on this theory, GTD, which is getting things done. You can look for apps based on GTD. So as you're processing, you're deciding on the next steps. You're filing things away. You're getting everything set up in order to take action and then do the work. You might wonder, how often do I process? You decide on that. How often you're gonna look through all your collection spaces in order to stay on top of everything. It could be multiple times a day. It could be once a day. It could be once a week. I'll go through my desk inbox once a week. If it's something urgent, I put it right on my desk to handle that day or the following day. Step 3 is do it. You're actually sitting down and you're getting to work. You're moving forward on those tasks and your projects because You've collected all that information, it's out of your head. You've processed it and have decided what the next steps are, and now it's time to get to work. You're making phone calls, you're writing emails, maybe you're running errands, you're having conversations with people. Whatever those actions are, you're handling them and you're knocking them off your list. When I sit down to do my task work, sometimes I'm doing things by priority. Sometimes I'm doing things by topic. Sometimes by context. We'll get into that later. Sometimes I'm getting it done by how much energy I have or how much time I have. And step 4 is to review. I think reviewing is underrated. Reviewing is not doing any task work. It's simply browsing your folders, checking out your to-do lists, looking through your paperwork, you're perusing through your emails and your checks just to make sure you haven't missed anything. If you notice something, write it down, but process it later. You're just reviewing. You're not doing task work. Reviewing is so that your mind can stay like water. It's so that you know you can trust your system. Sometimes just looking over everything can help you feel good and remind you that you have everything under control. Reviewing can also trigger new ideas or remind you of something important that you might need to handle sooner than later. Have you ever organized your tasks by context? Some examples of context are you need your phone to make your phone calls. You need your computer to write those emails. You need your desk space to do that desk work. You need your car to run errands. You need your partner to have those conversations. I've helped many of my clients take those piles of paper on their desk and sort them into folders by context. Sorting your tasks by context is very efficient. Someday, maybe. Are you collecting those anywhere? In the beginning of the series, I talked about getting stuff out of your head so your mind can be calm like water. What about those things that you really can't take action on yet? What about those dreams and those things you're working towards? Get those out too. Those are called someday maybe because, well, someday maybe you'll get to them. So often I'll be working with a client, going through their papers, and they'll find something and say, oh my gosh, this is a trip I want to take, or I want to bring the kids here. And they have so many papers and ideas like this. Where does stuff like that live? Well, it's time for you to give that a space, give it a home, a file, a list on your computer, somewhere where you can start to collect those dreams. Because once you start to get to a certain point with productivity and trusting your system, you can get to the point where you might be like, I've got a little extra space or time or money. And let me go take a look at that someday maybe list and see if I can move forward on it. What a feeling that feels to go into a someday maybe list and be like, wow, I remember I was dreaming about going to more concerts. And you know what? I'm going to take that off my list and put it into action and start going to those concerts. Once you find a place for all those dreams and those someday maybes, do you remember the review we talked about when you're just looking through and reviewing stuff? Don't forget that someday maybe area. Do a review in your someday maybes once a year maybe or every quarter. And just see if it's time to move forward on those dreams. Delegation and waiting for. If you're constantly delegating and waiting for others in your life, co-workers, to do things, to get back to you, you might still need to keep tabs on it. Keep track of that. Keep a delegated and a waiting for list on your computer, in a file, on your desk, in your binder. By keeping an area for delegation and waiting for, it keeps your current list of to-dos something you can move forward on without having to skip past it because, well, you've delegated it and you're waiting for it. This also saves your butt a little bit if who you've delegated it to is unreliable. That way you can follow up and make sure they're on top of it just in case they forget. I've given you a little insight to how I've been able to apply this to my business of 15 years and to my life. I've got one more gem for you.
This is the Getting Things Done flow chart, starting with stuff. This represents what stuff could be. Here is your collection tool, your inbox. It's where the stuff gets collected. When you're ready to process, you ask yourself, what is it? Is it actionable? No. It goes in the trash, the recycling, or the shred. Or it goes incubated into someday maybe, a dreams or a future to-do list. Or it gets filed away under reference, just your filing cabinet. If it's actionable and it's multi-step, that means it's a project. That's a project folder area, and that goes into planning. If it's actionable, yes, and it's not multi-step, then you have to decide what is the next action.
If the action is for somebody else to do, you delegate it and you put it on a waiting for list. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it. If it's actionable for you, you put it on your ASAP task list, which is just as soon as possible, not as soon as possible, into to-do lists and folders. If it has a specific date or time, it goes onto your calendar. You can find this online or in my Linktree. This area is for when you do a review. It's to give you examples, or also known as ticklers, for areas that you need to look through. Well, that wraps the series on Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. You can buy his book. It's in my Amazon shop. Happy organizing and happy productivity.